she owned 1% of all Bitcoin, with money ripped from a Ponzi scheme in China. People were asking the same questions. The UK police seized 61,000 coins. So where are the other 100,000 coins? Even more surreal, the Bitcoin seized in the UK has appreciated so much that now its current value exceeds all the losses her victims in China once reported. Read that again. If she hadn't fled with the money, this Ponzi scheme would have ended up looking like a wild successful investment. So, can the victims ever get their money back? On November 11, 2025, at Southwark Crown Court, her luck finally collapsed. 11 years and 8 months in British prison for money laundering. Overnight, her case shot back onto social media trending lists. Today, I want to tell this story from a very specific angle. The Dama scam. A fraud that could only happen in China. Dama is a Mandarin word that's now seeped into English. Dama means middle-aged auntie, the kind of woman who buys discount cooking oil and negotiates over 5 cents at market. So, how did a Dama outplay 128,000 investors? Are people stupid? No. It only makes sense if you grew up in China. In the West, famous con artists have a certain elite shine. Charles Ponzi looked like a professor running a postage scam. Bernie Madoff? Wall Street royalty. People invested in his name. Elizabeth Holmes? Black turtleneck, deadpan stare, Silicon Valley cult energy. But this woman? She's the opposite of every stereotype. And that's exactly why she was so dangerous. People didn't trust her because she understood investing. People trusted her because she didn't. In China, there's a cultural reflex. The more ordinary she looked, the more honest she appeared. The more she's just like us she felt, the faster everyone's defenses collapsed. Well, she won because she's ordinary in a way that made people comfortable. To Western viewers, this is the first law of Chinese Dama scam. The scammer must look like someone your mother would happily share knitting tips with. Someone who feels too mundane, too harmless, too unfinancial to ever commit a crime. That ordinariness is the disguise. When police arrested her, her home shocked me. It wasn't luxury. It wasn't even middle class. It was cheap. Rural Chinese aesthetic cheap. Instant noodles on the bedside table. Floral bed sheets. The kind of room that feels painfully familiar to anyone raised in the Chinese countryside. And yet, she owned 190,000 Bitcoin, 1% of a global currency. With that kind of fortune, you'd imagine a billionaire escape, second passport, private jet, safe house in Dubai. Nope. She jumped on the back of a motorcycle, clutching her laptop, her entire stolen world, and crossed the border into Myanmar like a fugitive from a bad action movie. And her final destination? Not a crypto haven or a tax paradise. The UK, one of the strictest anti-money laundering jurisdictions on earth. She wasn't smart. Oh, I take that back. She's smart. Not Wall Street smart, not Ivy League smart. Her kind of smart was different. Sneakier, softer, and more cultural. First, she made you misunderstand on purpose. Second, she knew how to put on a show. And third, she weaponized Chinese family values. Her story didn't begin with Bitcoin. Before 2013, we know almost nothing about her. She kept her past foggy, on purpose. She actually only graduated from a vocational college, but she told people she got 2 PhDs from Tsinghua University, basically the Harvard of China. And on top of that, she used to study at an elite university in the US. Well, if you throw around right school names, people stop asking questions. That year, she was using the name Li Xia. By the way, her names changed like outfits. Li Xia and Hua Hua, and later Sister Hua and Zhang Yadi. Finally, her real name, Qian Zhiming. And that year, she registered a company in Hong Kong with a name that sounded extremely legit. Hong Kong Rui Ying. In Chinese, Rui means Swiss, Ying means bank. UBS, the Swiss giant, is called Rui Ying Group in Chinese. And her company was Hong Kong Rui Ying. See it now? People didn't verify. They just assumed it was UBS. And her sales pitch was shining. High-tech health products and crypto mining, with promised returns of 100 to 300%. You didn't hear me wrong. In the early age, they really did pay out 100 to 300% returns. The people who took the bait were middle-class, middle-aged, and elderly Chinese investors. People who spend their whole lives doing the right things, working hard, saving carefully. This is where Western audiences need context. China has a deep cultural instinct that if something sounds aligned with government strategy, it must be safe. So when she said green energy, technology upgrade, Swiss banking model, it flipped a switch in people's mind. Not risky, but approved. That psychological shortcut is the fuel behind every Dama scam. Their recruitment events didn't feel like financial seminars. They felt more like religious revivals. Thousands of people packed into one room. No phones, no photos, no recordings. The lights dimmed, the music swelled, and then her entrance. Qian Zhiming appeared, wearing a veil, sitting in a wheelchair. Followers lifted both her and the wheelchair above their heads. The crowd chanted the slogan in unison, 3 generations of wealth, 3 generations of wealth. It came from their signature promise. Give Greenergy 3 years, and Greenergy will give you prosperity for 3 lifetimes. Here's what makes her unique Chinese as a fraudster. She didn't manipulate greed. She manipulated kinship. In the West, scams sell independence and get rich. In China, scams sell protect your children, honor your parents, 3 generations of fortune. That pitch hits deeper than any spreadsheet. Chinese parents and grandparents get emotional the second someone talks about protecting your next generation. Well, it wasn't greed. It wasn't just greed. It was hope. It was love for the kids and grandkids redirected into the wrong hands. It's devotion, weaponized. And if you don't understand that difference, you can't understand why 128,000 people followed her. Back to the story. She's wearing a veil. Well, the veil makes sense. She needed to stay hidden. But the wheelchair? I don't get it. Maybe it was about presentation. I mean, you can't lift someone who's standing. That looks sloppy. But lift someone in a wheelchair. All of a sudden, it becomes a ritual. Wow. The veil made her untouchable. The wheelchair made her divine. Brilliant. And terrifying. It worked. 128,000 investors. 43 billion yuan. That's the entire population of Berkeley, California, and the economic output of a U.S. city like Boise or Santa Fe, all swallowed by one scam, run by one Auntie. Then, with the money, she bought Bitcoin obsessively. 194,952 coins over 3 years. Crypto gave her something traditional scams never could. A way to turn stolen life savings into borderless, untraceable wealth. By 2017, China's P2P lending platforms were collapsing one after another. Her company was investigated. Assets were seized. The moment liquidity disappeared, the promised interest payments stopped. So the investors began demanding answers. They called the police. She didn't panic. She grabbed 70,000 Bitcoin, stored them in a single laptop. She fled on the back of a motorcycle, crossed the border into Myanmar. There, she bought a Myanmar passport. Using that passport, she moved to Thailand and paid $250,000 for a Sandkits and a Navy's passport. Just like that, she became something new, a citizen from the Caribbean. From there, she drifted through Laos, then Malaysia to erase her trail. She shed identities the way snakes shed skin. Finally, she arrived in the United Kingdom. In London, she lived loudly. Luxury cars, designer clothes. Her greed betrayed her. She insisted on buying real estate using Bitcoin, triggering anti-money laundering alerts. A quiet investigation began. The police watched, waited. In one surreal moment, they found a hand-drawn treasure map in a safety box leading to her Bitcoin devices. A treasure map, yes. She hid her fortune like a kid hiding candy. When investigators finally cracked the wallets, someone asked, "Is this a typo?" For a second, they thought someone fat-fingered a decimal point. The number was so huge, it didn't feel real. And then, unbelievably, the police released her on bail. And of course, she fled. She evaporated. For years, nothing. Until April 2024, when officers stormed an Airbnb in York. They found fake passports, cash, and the truth. She wasn't a genius. She wasn't a mastermind. She was a Dama with dangerous confidence and a talent for exploiting trust. In court, the judge told her a line that will haunt her forever. Your motive was one of pure greed. Today, the world is staring at two mysteries. What will the UK do with 61,000 Bitcoin? Victims are Chinese. China doesn't legally recognize crypto. So technically speaking, no one lost money. So China as a state will not claim the Bitcoin from the UK. Wow, it's so wild. Real people lost everything, but legally nothing happened. That leaves the victims with only one option: civil lawsuits. Well, it will be messy. The kind of legal chaos that drags on years and leaves everyone exhausted. The second question: where are the other 100,000 Bitcoin? The coins she bought, the coins she hid. Even if she never admitted it, the blockchain did. Bitcoin is anonymous and untraceable in theory, but the blockchain remembers everything. To put it simple, the blockchain is a public ledger. Every transfer is recorded forever, out in the open for anyone to trace. When investigators stitched the fragments together, a monstrous truth surfaced from the dark. At her peak, she controlled 1% of all Bitcoin on Earth. So, where are the rest? Buried by fake names, cold wallets, dead devices? Someone online joked, if the UK allowed torture, those private keys would be reviewed in 5 minutes. Others took it even further. I'm ready to break her out, just tell me when. When she's free, I'm marrying her. Dark humor thrives when justice feels uncertain. During a raid at her sister's home, police found piles of cash and a handwritten note. It read, "If the police crack the Bitcoin password, I'm finished." A sentence so simple, yet so chilling. What did it mean? Did the assistant hide the passwords? Did someone else have them? It might be a crypto mystery for the ages, all because of an ordinary Chinese dàmā. She was a dàmā, wrapped in the disarming comfort of familiarity, weaponizing the instincts at the core of Chinese family culture. Now here's the warning. In China, the scam you fear is never as dangerous as the dàmā you don't. Remember today's word, dàmā.